So then you just start recording at 2 o'clock. Who can't attend this afternoon? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Peter Katrubis. I'm Vice President of Sales Operations. I'm joined by Jay Chitkar. He's our Program Director for Emerging Technologies. Our topic today is going to be on automated testing as a service for PeopleSoft and non-PeopleSoft web applications. First thing we're going to talk about is a little bit about ERPA. ERPA guiding principles are embedded in our name. So with E, we've got empathy, and with the R, it's responsibility, P is passion, and A is agility. We're founded in 1999, headquartered in Dublin, Ohio. We've got satellite offices in Florida, Nevada, and Texas. We're an Oracle Platinum partner, and our specializations within our Platinum partnership on Oracle Cloud, PeopleSoft applications, business intelligence, and then big data. We've grown to over 500 directly employed US-based consultants in 18 years in business, and we've successfully completed over 1,500 plus Oracle projects. Of that, 250 are specifically PeopleSoft upgrades. 22 of those in the last few years have been 9.2 upgrades, with over 100 passes related to those PeopleSoft 9.2 upgrades. We also have the competency in Oracle BI applications and ODI and OBI EE, and have several projects completed in BI apps. A lot of people ask us why ERPA, and you guys often ask why any vendor. Here at ERPA, we've got a number of things we talk about, and it always starts with people, process, and technology, and then goes to expertise, our managed hosting services, and our remote enterprise solutions team. With people, again, we're proud to boast over 500 directly employed US consultants, the largest PeopleSoft US-based workforce. And of those folks, we have a 95% retention rate and an average experience level of 10 years. And most of those folks are certified or specialized in their area of specialization. When we talk about process, we're CMMI level 3 appraised, and then ISO certified in 27001 and 9001. And what this translates to our customers is that for all of our projects and our initiatives, when we take them on for the first time, then we build processes around them and then continuously improve them as we go from customer to customer, doing similar work through improving those, and then eventually come out with solid processes and always ensure success from one customer to the next. When it comes to technology, we don't try to be all things to all people. We're Oracle specialized. Oracle Cloud is our newer focus, and we're have a lot of competency there. And then PeopleSoft applications is our starting point in technology, and we still continue to drive excellence in that area. Business intelligence with OBIE and OBIA, and now with big data in the last 3 years. When we talk about expertise, having this exclusive focus on PeopleSoft applications from inception and by design, we've built a lot of project accelerators along with our projects, again, in alignment with our process and our dedication to success. And then a lot of intellectual property related to those project tools and accelerators. Managed hosting with the PeopleSoft lift and shift to the cloud is one of our newer competencies in the last few years as the cloud has become more prevalent and people want to do something with their applications on premise. And then our competency in PeopleSoft give us a unique expertise and leg up there. And then our remote enterprise solutions team, where we take 30 to 40 of the best and brightest of our 500 employees, and they, housed in our corporate office in Dublin, Ohio, and then provide services for our customers. When we talk about our services, they include managed projects, which are PeopleSoft implementations and upgrades and module add-ons, then People Tools upgrades. We also have consulting services. With so many directly employed consultants, we often don't have projects to keep them employed. So in order to manage our bench time, we offer them as supplemental resources for our clients. A lot of our clients manage their own PeopleSoft projects. They've had the applications for years, and they need 1 or 2 consultants, either functional or technical or combined, to get them through and meet their project goals. Managed services really is where we provide the most value, I think, to our customers because we do a lot to significantly reduce the burden of maintaining the applications, both from infrastructure and hosting all the way through to managing the application updates and customizations. And we've got a number of services starting with the application hosting on Amazon Web Services, followed by break-fix support services, where we basically handle your help desk, and then that has all service level agreements. Then we even have more specific for services that might be less comprehensive but consistent and periodic with PUM management or custom development for bolt-ons. And then we have some more recent fluid services as the tools within PeopleSoft have incorporated the newer functionality to build out fluid. Also, security as a service, disaster recovery services, and what we're going to be talking about today is testing as a service. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Jay Chitkara, who is my partner in today's discussion. And
thank you, Peter.
Welcome.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask you, what are the different types of repetitive scenarios that may be creating a demand for testing, and what are the associated pain points?
Well, thank you, Peter, for inviting me to today's forum. Basically, I've been doing this for the last 21 years. I bring in 20 plus years of experience in ERP applications, automation. So I've seen this over and over doing the testing. And you raised a very good question about repetitive requirements and the pain points. What I have observed is that testing has always been repetitive, because when you make a change in a system, it's, you have to test it. If you don't test it, it becomes a production issue later on, and it becomes a pain point. I mean, you may be lucky that everything is okay, right? However, that's not the case all the time, especially when, depending on the data, there may be a unique data in the companies or the organizations or the institutions in the higher ed area that their data is very unique. So in terms of repetitive testing requirements, let me tell you a few. You highlighted before PUM in the PeopleSoft Services. PUM is nothing but a PeopleSoft updates. They come out 4 times a year. The customers can apply it, every quarter, or they can apply it at the end of the year, their choice. However, if you do it at the end of the year, it becomes a huge project at that time. If you do it 4 times a year, it's too many changes all the time, right? So how do you reduce that? Where is the balance in between? You go through upgrades, you go through patches, regulatory updates come out 5 times, 6 times a year, depending on what's going on, how many rules are changing. If your organization is changing, you're going to implement new modules, like you may be introducing project billing in your organization, you may be introducing an integration with another module, or you may be introducing time and labor module. What I'm trying to say is that the testing has always been repetitive in nature, and that brings pain point of the time, the quality, the clean audits and compliance, because you want to be comply with what you're introducing in your system in production. I worked for a university one time, and I remember I was audited 5 times in my very first year. And so I know the pain points of what a customer goes through, of being audited all the time. And you can have various types of audits depending on the organization you work in. They ask for change management policies. They ask for, what was done to move the code to production. The quality is always subjective. However, you can measure the quality by how many production issues you had after the code has been moved. That's the only way you can measure the quality. You can measure quality in such a way that where you have fewer production issues. The other way you can measure quality is that in terms of standardization. I have observed that customers, because they're busy, somebody has their test script sitting in Word document, somebody sitting in Excel, or somebody, some people may have it in Notepad, but it may not be complete. And what happens is when they leave the organization or they move to another position, it becomes a problem for the next person who is filling into their shoes. So your time and personnel constraints also become a pain point. And like the thing I was talking about, people leaving, whether they have a planned leave, unplanned leave, or even finding the time. You may have a customer may be buried under a lot of projects, and suddenly a change is going to be introduced, and you don't have the time to test all the functionalities. So what happens is you test only what is changed, and that becomes a production issue later on because no integration testing was done at that time. Performance testing is another one which gets left behind because there is no time to test. To cite some examples, there are some time, a peak time when an organization goes through where there's a heavy load. And that could be during a financial close, downloading the W-2 during tax returns, or your student enrollment time, or your grade posting time. You want to test your system capacity ahead of the time, whether your system can take 1,000 students of concurrent load if you have, let's say, 25,000 students plus of university, or let's say you have 5,000 plus employees. You want to test maybe 300, 400 concurrent users in your HR system, right? What I'm trying to say is that you want to catch as much as issue ahead of the time before it goes into production. But time becomes an issue at that time.
Excellent. Well, thanks for the comprehensive review. I hadn't necessarily thought of all those scenarios. What do you guys mean, and what is it meant by testing automation?
Anything repetitive, can be automated. So as I said before, that I've been doing automation for 20 plus years, and I've seen that there are always a trend. There's always a trend in when you're doing things over and over. And this is just a human, as a human being, we perfect ourselves when we are doing the same thing over and over, right? We may get bored because we're doing the same thing over and over. And to, get out of that boredom, I've always felt that why don't I automate that? And history has proven this. I mean, we've always evolved by doing the same thing over and over, and we have come up with something new. So that's what is, just like you have a software development lifecycle, testing has its own lifecycle. It has multiple phases, and what we promise is with our software solution is that we cut down the 80% of the time by automating the repetitive functions. So that's where we come in picture, where how do I think ahead of the time on behalf of the end user and save that time for the end user.
Wow, this is some considerable time savings. I can only imagine that would translate to big cost savings. How can you guys make promises like that?
Yes, I do agree. This is a 80%. Yeah, it's a huge savings, and these numbers are true numbers. If you try to do it manually, for example, if you go through an application upgrade for your HR, finance, campus solutions, your portal, your enterprise performance management or CRM, it may take about 24 weeks, and I'm talking for the whole project, that long. You can actually reduce that time by 80% by automating those functions. So that's what you get out of in the time-saving benefits. And how do we do it? We pre-create these scripts. So that's where the secret sauce is, that we have thought about all the business functions ahead of the time, that these are the business functions which use a test. Can I test it on behalf? Can the machines, can the bots test on behalf of the users? So that's where we come into the picture to save the 80% of the time.
Well, I can understand that you guys could pre-build these test scripts for PeopleSoft and other delivered functionality. But how do you account for customizations? As they vary from customer to customer, and
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's another good question, Peter. Yes, you're totally right that I can think of it ahead, that I need to hire an employee, I need to enroll the employee into benefits, I need to, cut the paycheck for that employee. What we have done is, as you know, that we've thought through every business scenario, whether they're in HR. Under HR, you may have a Ben admin. What we do is that we take 2 weeks of deployment time where we tailor our scripts to unique customizations of the customer, the unique data values of the test data of the customer. And we recently did that at one of our clients, where we deployed the whole testing solution for their HR upgrade just in 2 weeks. 1 week was done to tailor our scripts to their unique customizations on the delivered objects. And the other week we spent was picking up their test data. So that's where, so we're able to pick up any unique customizations of the customer.
Well, how do you track new data during testing, and how do you account for decisions the subject matter expert might make during testing?
Your questions are very good, Peter. I was saying that I can pick up the customer's data, but your question is that, the data, some data may not exist. Like, you may be creating a new voucher, right? You may be hiring a new employee, and that employee ID, does not even exist in the system. Or you may be creating a new applicant or a new student in a campus solution system, and that data does not exist. Well, our scripts have artificial intelligence built in. It can take the decisions based on the data. So, for example, if I'm hiring a student into a HR system, the student employee ID or the student ID already exist in the system. So I don't have to recreate that one more time. Or if I'm hiring an employee, rehiring an employee one more time into my system, I don't have to recreate that employee ID again because it already exists. But that takes research. So there are some functions within PeopleSoft, for example, where you can search that does that ID exist? Or you may have some error handling. So our solution is very artificial intelligent in nature, that it can pick up new data. It can take that new data into another system and then validate over there, or do some calculations on that and even validate the data. So that's how we account for the new data. We recently loaded actually 200 employees for one of our clients, which was a very mass data. Recently we did that, and the client was very happy that we were able to test all scenarios.
Well, considering that data is shared or integrated across PeopleSoft and other applications in the ecosystem, what's the best approach for testing the data through the entire life cycle as it passes from one system to the other?
Well, no testing is complete. Peter, no testing is complete without integrated testing. Otherwise, it becomes a production issue. And that's where I've seen that people can say, well, I did not know that so-and-so modification took place in payroll. And that's what, because some systems get the data by next day. You may have an integration between finance system or your document imaging system, or some grading is going on in your Blackboard system, and Campus Solutions needs that data. So without integrated testing, you're doing a silo testing, and that's where our software solution makes sure that not only it has artificial intelligence built in, but also it can take the data from one system, log out from that system, and check in the other system whether the data reached there. For example, you may have an integrated system where you are creating a new department in HR, and that new department gets created also through integrations in finance system. We can pick that new department ID and the name and the, wherever it falls in the organization structure, and validate that in finance system to complete that integrated end-to-end testing. And that applies on any web-based app, whether PeopleSoft or not.
Is it possible to automate and integrate testing at the same time?
Yes, we actually did that at one of our clients, where we actually posted the data. So a good example I'll give is on the OBIE side, business intelligence, right? You have to wait for a day because it's a static data. You want to pick up the data from your transaction systems. Your ETLs are running overnight, and then the next day people will see the system. People will see it. So we're able to pick up that transaction which was created a day before and validate that in the next system on the following day. So yes, the integration can be tested immediately, depending on the integration, or it can even be tested the following day, depending on how the integration is.
And so how do you test for mobile?
Well, the world is changing. As you know, you have mobile devices. Not just the world is changing, you have the new technology coming in, but you have your users are demanding more and more. You have maybe managers, directors who are going from one meeting to another meeting. You have student population who wants to do most of their tasks on the mobile devices. You have a lot of self-service applications are popping up these days that people want to do things on their own. So you have suppliers, you have supplier portal, so everything is mobile driven these days. That so it's a 24/7. The information is flowing all the time. So our testing solution makes sure that we test all types of multiple browsers, all types of multiple devices, and Android and iOS. So we've taken care of those type of testing scenarios. The idea is that we want to catch all the issues ahead of the time so that people are not reporting, well, it works in Chrome, but it doesn't work in IE, right? Can I test ahead of the time? So we make sure that we have tested on behalf of the user on types of users, because somebody's preference could be Safari, somebody's preference could be Microsoft Edge. I hope
Based
I
on what
answered
you
your question.
present, yeah, definitely. I couldn't live without my mobile devices, and I try to do everything from online banking to, even scanning documents and signing them to scanning documents just for capture for various reasons on my mobile devices. So I couldn't live without that functionality. Well, it sounds like, based on what you presented, that it's logical these test scripts could be reused. Are they reusable next time you make a change to the system?
So that's another beauty of it, that we are able to read the data. The same script can go from dev to test to QA or UAT, whatever you call it, or integrated system, all the way to production. You can plug in through a life cycle, and that's actually a good thing, because your data will change. Because every time you want to refresh your non-prod system for production, and you want to test it one more time, right? That's how. But if you have to create your test every time the data changes, well, that's not really full automation, right? I mean, that's a semi-automation. There's a lot of manual tasks or a lot of copy cloning of the same thing. And I've seen many testing solutions which are not complete in nature. They do testing for some sort, but you have to duplicate those test scenarios. So we take care of, remember that I was talking to you about the artificial intelligence. So our data-driven testing before, right? We can actually, based on the type of the data, it can take a different route of testing, like a human being will do, right? A human being will take decisions, whether it's a warning message or an okay message, or if the testing needs to be done in a different way. We have built our scripts that way that it's not only repeatable, but there's artificial intelligence built into that.
So, Jay, tell me, how are you guys showing the results? I mean, the reporting results, and how do we know when the testing's done correctly? And then, I guess maybe more importantly, at an executive level, how do I know the status of the progress as it occurs, and conclusive results?
Well, that's another pain point which you are just talking about, because this is one of the pain points, is that where an executive has to email that where's the testing at, right? Or they have to find out in a status meeting, right? This is where the testing at, or it's being delayed. We provide reporting dashboards, which basically tells you where the testing is at. We have integrated it in such a way that you have an executive who can look at it, and let's say that it's a finance executive who wants to see how much GL testing has been done, how much payroll testing has been done, how much billing testing has been done, or AP or AR testing has been done. Just on a click of a button, they'll be able to view these reporting dashboards. Earlier, let me talk one more thing about reports. You remember I was talking to you about one of the pain point of the change management or the quality or the audits. Our test reporting includes results. We basically capture every screenshot of every type of test action. So if I'm typing an address, I'll be able to capture that. If I'm clicking on a yes or a no button, or create a voucher button, or process the voucher button, right? I'll be able to capture those screenshots as a document. So my test result is not pass or fail anymore. It will have the inputs, it will have the action, it will always have the output, right? In the same document, which you can actually attach it to your change management software, and that should qualify for your auditors. Not only that, if you have an employee change, let's say the employee is retired and you are hiring a new employee, well, now you can pick up the same document which was used for testing to train your new employees.
Wow. Well, Jay, what's this all boiled down to? And why should people choose ERPA over the competition?
PeopleSoft does deliver a free software with it, which is called a PTF, PeopleSoft Test Framework. And why you should choose ERPA versus a PTF is PTF also does the automation, record and playback. It's environment dependent, and but it has its own disadvantages. It's very technical in nature. When you are talking about data-driven repeatable tests, it lacks over there. When you're talking about integration between PeopleSoft modules or even non-PeopleSoft modules, like in a university, you may have TouchNet, OnBase, ImageNow, or you want to do an integration you want to test the integration between HR and finance, the example I was talking about, or the mobile capability. And no testing solution is complete if you're not doing it, everything integrated. So stress testing, mobile testing, performance testing, all types of browsers. That's where, why you should choose an ERP testing service over a PTF, or some of those examples where I will highlight is where our software, comes out to be our testing solution comes out to be better than the free software. And there's nothing free, right? You have to build it. So, but how easy it is that we have a pre-configured solution. We have a data-driven type of decision-making scripts. You can even schedule your test. So, I've drawn this, where the advantages, disadvantages, or the differences between a free software or PeopleSoft testing framework versus an ERP testing service. And if I have to sum it up in 4 areas that why you should choose ERPA is the quality, productivity, time, and affordability. And we have seen that not only we have cut down the 80% time savings, we have even introduced a quality factor that our quality has improved, where we're able to spot these issues ahead of the time in non-prod system during the testing, and the production have fewer issues. So you will see a major impact in quality. You will see productivity. I've seen that users are busy. They have a lot of projects on their plate. They'll be able to work on other pending tasks where let the machines do their repetitive tasks. And remember, I talked to you about 80%. The other 20%, the users own this data. So users still own the data, even if machines are doing the job for them. You want to make sure that the users are still reviewing the results. They're approving those results. Life cycle to life cycle, from dev to test, test to QA, and QA to production, right? And then only it should go into production. But they are approving all of that. You will see a savings in time, and affordability is another one, because you may ask that, well, how much does it cost? If I have to, compare with PTF or compare with ERP's testing service, we're about approximately 1/3 of the functional tester's labor cost. So it's an opportunity cost when you look at it, that you save, 2/3 of the cost.
What client case studies does ERPA have?
Well, proof is in the pudding, right? It all sounds great when I'm talking about quality, productivity, time, and affordability, but have we done this before, right? So we recently deployed this at one of the higher ed institutes where it was an HR upgrade where they have 73,000 plus users. Number of modules are 7. Their bolt-ons were 6, and they have number of schools within that system is about 7. The challenges for me was they had customization to the delivered objects, many use cases due to the labor union laws, and when we were engaged, the project was 3 weeks behind schedule. And we deployed our testing as a service solution in 1 week. We aligned our scripts. Remember, I was talking to you about that. We aligned our scripts to their customizations. So we had about 430 plus scripts, which are depending on their number of modules, which we were able to tailor those within 1 week. Tested many scenarios, hired 200 plus employees. We did mobile testing. We did stress testing for up to 300 concurrent users, because they were moving from their old system to the new system from 9.1 to 9.2. So that's the solution we deployed. The benefit was right within the first week, the project, which was 3 weeks behind schedule, it came back on the schedule, because we finished the unit testing, which was 3 weeks behind, just within 1 week. Not only we did that, we deployed it, we also finished that unit testing in 1 week. And actually that brought about 12 hidden issues, which we were able to resolve those. And even in the next one, when we did the system integrated testing, where you do the data validation and everything, we completed that just in 2 weeks. Identified hidden issues. We had a very smooth UAT. We finished actually UAT in 1 week, and now the migration is going on for a quality product which will go into production. So that's where we deployed our testing as a service solution. So I hope that answers your that question of where we have deployed, where we have seen the benefits of this.
Yeah, it's helpful, and it also highlights that this was specifically used as a project recovery type of scenario. Interesting. Well, where does the performance and stress testing fit into the big picture of the services?
I will say, would like to cover that in our next webinar discussion like this one. But we do offer load testing, performance, scalability, data-driven type of load testing. So stay tuned to that. That will be coming very soon in the future.
Okay. The big question is, how do we get started? How does a customer get started?
Well, you can start by, we do live demos. Today was just showing the capability, but we do live demos. We actually listen to your customers' requirements, and you can email us at webinars@erpagroup.com, and we will be happy to provide that to you. So that's where you can start.
Well, we appreciate it. We had some poll questions to release here, but I happen to be challenged. So I don't know if you could help, Arun, but it's not giving me the questions to release. Well, with that said, I'd like to go ahead and open up the discussion for any questions that our audience has. We'll forego the poll questions since we're having technical difficulties, and if you could just provide us your... Now we've released the poll question, so if you take 30 seconds per question, again, your feedback would be greatly appreciated here because this helps us get better at what we do and helps us present more relevant information that might be most important for you. So again, we'll give it like 30 seconds for each question. If you guys could, again, greatly appreciate any feedback you can provide us. And then if you want, you can go ahead and start typing in some of your questions into the chat box or the question box, and then we will take those. I see here from Khalid Azam, and I won't mention everybody's name. I apologize, Khalid. What is the automation tool of choice? Jay?
So we have a proprietary solution where we have, it's not the tool, it's the solution with it. I mean, I wanted to say that it's the idea that we have thought through all types of scenarios, and we have combined that with our testing software solution, and that's how we deploy that solution.
So again, 18 years in business, and we have a whole Oracle lab in our corporate office in Ohio. So over 19 years in PeopleSoft business, functionally and technically, we can build out scripts for the functional scenarios, for the delivered functionality, and then vet that through our subject matter experts, and then combine that with our technical competency to build out our own proprietary solution, which is both, soft scripts and, a combination of things that our technical team put together, and then deploy that in your system to do the testing. And again, we modify that based on the custom.
So Peter, I see one more question, and I appreciate this question. It's very great. It says, how does data validation happen? I heard you saying it is done by the user. Is this something which could be automated? Have you done? So absolutely, the answer is yes. You can actually, remember the artificial intelligence thing I was talking about before, that you can actually pick the data value by itself. You can validate. So if a page is calculating, let's say, let me give an example. Let's say you're giving a raise to somebody, which is a 2% salary raise, and their salary is, let's say, $100,000, and the raise comes out to be $2,000. You can actually validate that by typing 2%, does it calculate to another $2,000 addition, and the total salary now should become $102,000, right? So that type of data validation can be automated. That's the beauty of this automation, is that where it's not just a robot doing log in, log out, or typing some actions, but we're talking about real data validations, which a user will do.
So Jay, I'm going to jump in
and show a demo.
Yeah. Well, again, also, if the message didn't come across in the presentation, that this is applicable across the entire PeopleSoft ecosystem in all the different various suites of applications. And then we've also extended it to Oracle Business Intelligence with OBIA and some other technical components within OBIEE. So this is a pretty broad solution for the ecosystems that we primarily come across, which are PeopleSoft centric with the Oracle Business Intelligence data warehousing. But we've also, and we just didn't really elaborate on it, also working this out so we can do repetitive automation of testing services for Workday and some other applications. And again, this does test the application ecosystem, even peripheral systems bolted onto PeopleSoft, whether it's supply chain, financials, FMS, were traditional for us folks who've been around for a long time, or the supply chain component, or HCM, or campus solutions, or other.
To add to that, Peter, what you shared is that it's very valuable. That today's focus was showing PeopleSoft or HR or finance, but we have done for other. There's actually a question on it. I was just going to share that is that other areas like supply chain, financials. So the answer is yes. We couldn't show everything, but we showed that any PeopleSoft app and non-PeopleSoft app, we're adding more and more. Oracle Cloud, Workday, Peter mentioned, like that one. So absolutely, please reach out to us on this webinars@erpagroup.com, and we'll be happy to sit down with you, email us for a complimentary assessment. We can do that free of cost. So that's, we can do that assessment for you where you are at and where you want to be.
Yeah, that's the starting point as we kind of wrapped up the presentation, is the free assessment. So even if you came to us saying, hey, I want to sign up, we'd say, well, let us do the free assessment, give you the results, and then, we'll look at building the roadmap for how we engage. So it is, again, part of that initial process. It looks like we just got a few seconds left on that last poll question. Again, we'd like to answer any closing questions that you have, maybe just general questions around testing. Jay, again, is our Director of Emerging Technologies, but his core competency is his subject matter expertise within PeopleSoft and other applications for testing and security.
Security
is another day.
Right. Yeah, I'll say final conclusion is that automation, the world is changing, and and it's artificial intelligence type of world. So it's the idea that you can put it's not the tool. Tool is important, right? To give an example, if you have a hammer, anybody can build a house, and if you have to build a house with that hammer or use that tool to build that house, then obviously the architecture, the design, and everything is going to be different. What ERPA, where we specialize is that we are thinking on behalf of the user. We're thinking on behalf of the pain points of the users. We're thinking ahead that in today's market, what do they want, right? Can I bake those in ahead of the time? So that's where we're going after. We're utilizing tools which are in the market, and we're selling the software solution, which is pre-baked, ready to be configured. Takes about 2 weeks of deployment of time. We go through an assessment, which takes about a week, and engage with the customer from there on.
Okay. Well, again, we want to thank everybody for your time. We know how busy everybody is, and it's greatly appreciated. We've got some contact information here. You can email us at webinars@ERPA Group. Jay and I are both on this email stream, so we'll get your information, follow up with you quickly to schedule a discussion, and then please visit our website at www.erpagroup.com, and there's a lot of valuable information around PeopleSoft and other technologies out there that fall within our expertise. Thanks again, and hope you can join us on our next webinar, and we'll certainly be inviting you if you attended today.
Well, thank you, Peter. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.